money for people on SSDI. That's Social Security Disability Insurance. According to the IRS, if you collect certain benefits, including SSDI, you may see the money starting today. The IRS says it received the data it needed from the Social Security Administration last week for people receiving the following: Social Security retirement, survivor or disability, supplemental security income, and Railroad Retirement Board beneficiaries who did not file a 2019 or 2020 tax return or did not use the non-filers tool. The IRS is verifying the info it received from the Social Security Administration. Once that process is complete, it's sending the money through direct deposit.
Folks, more and more states have announced that they will be allocating new stimulus funds just to go out to stimulus programs into the residents that need it the most. That means you'll be getting stimulus checks within a couple of days. So, I think President Biden will give you the stimulus payments, everybody, but tell me what you think. Now, here's the important news. Another round of relief is being offered for the Chicago families. Now, the City of Chicago is launching its 2022 Chicago Resiliency Act. This is a direct cash assistance program designed to help give people in Chicago money and stimulus cash every single day. In particular, this program is available for the caregivers or adults with children or other family members. If you claim dependents in your taxes, you can apply online, but it ends on December 9th to get the stimulus money. There's also good news for people in Kansas. The governor and legislative leaders recently agreed to dedicate $154 million in money in supporting the economic development and improve resources around the globe into available low-income households. They'll be given stimulus cash. Now, members of the State Finance Council includes Republicans and Democrats from the Senate and House. It adopted a recommendation to set aside $100 million for expansion of structures that are needed to expand businesses and jobs. The council also directed $50 million in a new program of $1,000 per child grants, everybody. This is a good grant, and you'll be getting that money very fast. The governor put forward a one-time tax rebate of $250 for individuals and $500 for married couples filing jointly. Now, as they are scheduled to be shipped out during the holiday season, many Idaho residents should be able to pick up their checks of $600 soon. The governor even said the state has sent out already 200,000 folks in stimulus cash and stimulus checks to 130 million people. And due to the fact that only 60,000 direct deposits can be made per day, some consumers will have to wait until after the holidays to receive the refund payments. It's an unfortunate event, but the state can only issue up to 75,000 checks a week. So by the end of March next year, you should be getting your stimulus money in the mailbox. That means the week in a new report released that showed that 350,000 Missouri people are in families with incomes too low to qualify for the child tax credit. Many of the lowest income families nationally just earn too little to qualify for the $2,000 and $2,000 monthly check. It's tied to a family's earnings and income taxes. It's a policy designed, advocates have long argued, excludes the most vulnerable children. For 6 months last year, the federal government expanded the program, including by making the full amount available to children in the lowest income families. Research widely found the expansion lifted children from poverty and reduced food insecurity. And according to researchers in reducing food insecurity, they said that the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, that the success of the 2021 expansion showed us that the child poverty rates are a policy choice not inevitable to get. Now, Congress did fail to make the reform permanent, and the changes expired in January. Without federal action that's done to expand the program, researchers argue that policymakers will unnecessarily push more children back into poverty. Child poverty just likely return to the same level as it was before. That's something that not everybody wants to hear, but it's the facts, everybody. Because a study in the Journal of American Medical Association found expanded payments in 2021 were associated with a 26% decrease in food insufficiency, meaning that people need stimulus checks and stimulus checks now.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask unanimous consent that the following legislative fellows in my office be granted the privileges of the floor for the remainder of the Congress: Robert Watson Fagan and Benjamin Schaefer.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise to discuss bipartisan legislation that I have introduced with Senator Lujan, which would grant a federal charter to the National American Indian Veterans Incorporated, known as NAIV. The NAIV was chartered in 2004 with headquarters located on the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribal Reservation in South Dakota. The NAIV was originally established as a result of a request by former Senators Akaka, Inouye, and Nighthorse Campbell during a Senate Veterans Affairs Committee hearing in 2004. At that time, no Native American veterans organization had ever received a congressional charter. Sadly, that remains the case today, nearly 20 years later, but that omission would be fixed by this legislation. The NAIV is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that operates solely for the charitable, literary, educational, scientific, patriotic, and civil improvement purposes. It provides a voice to Native American veterans whose unique needs are not always represented adequately by other organizations. Mr. President, Native Americans are the highest serving race per capita in the U.S. Armed Forces, often serving at a rate 5 times over the national average, and have served with distinction in every U.S. conflict over the last 200 years. They also have some of the highest concentration of women service members. According to a 2020 VA statistics report, there are over 140,000 Native American veterans across the nation today.
So while the economy has fairly come back from the strong crisis, it's still hard for the average American to deal with the skyrocketing inflation and even higher cost of everyday necessities. However, many lawmakers are starting to take notice and make the call for more financial assistance now. The good news is that many people will not have to wait long or too long before they finally receive another stimulus check. According to a new report, the latest increase in price that has been felt by Americans has been seen at the gas pump, which sits at a nationwide average around $4.32 per gallon. That's the highest prices in the country. They're currently being in California, where the current average of gas is around $5.73 a gallon. So with prices so high and in such a short period of time, new calls are going around for a stimulus check or a similar payment from the federal government. During an interview with CNN, Mark Wolf, the executive director of the National Energy Assistance Director Association, urged the government to help low and moderate income families with another stimulus payment. Now then as it becomes more difficult to continue keeping up with the rising costs, they cited a new report that estimated inflation has increased monthly costs by $276 a month, and that soaring fuel prices could skyrocket these costs to more than $300 a month. In his call, the executive director stated that a direct payment through the IRS should be targeted to those earning less than 8% of the national median income, which would help those who need the assistance the most while keeping the cost of the program low. He states that Congress should authorize one $1,100 payment per household to pay for 4 months of prices, and then provide an option which would allow the president to provide other checks at a later date if prices continue to remain high. And the good news is that the Biden administration has indicated that there are always discussions about bringing a new round of aid to Americans. Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom made a modest proposal earlier this year, which was to pause the gas tax increase for 1 year. He urged that he did not want to let the tax go up by 3 cents this year. The Newsom administration described it as an effort to potentially lower the price of gas and provide some relief to customers. But some leaders of the majority Democrat legislature, which Newsom would need to get on board with his plan, are not wild about the idea,